Hey people, Shamanic here for Shamanic Lodge. I'm going to ask or answer a couple questions I was asked on a comment today. And it's about shamanic life, apprenticeships, lifestyle changes, getting out of the right race, stuff like that. So let me go on and have to put on my reading glasses here. So we're going to get right into the part about the apprentice. Does the apprentice choose or is chosen to be the shaman? Or both? Because classic example is like a series of events will start to happen to a person, and you're looking around like, wow, this is just too coincidental. And there's so many synchronicities happening, and everything in my life is just shutting down, and all this weird new age heebie-jeebie stuff is popping up. And what's the meaning of this? And people will tell that person, you should go see a shaman. You should go whatever, and unfortunately, for the most part, since there's not that many real shamans out there, they go in and they go through the new age scene and get told a lot of misinformation. And as I say so many times in other videos, people will hold on to the first answer as if it's the right one, and that's not always the case. So some people can look at the lifestyle and think it's like totally cool, mysterious, and enticing, and go, okay, I want to try that. I think I want to be a shaman. you know, send in 2 box tops of your favorite cereal, $50, and poof, it's your new age bookstore or shamanic college or whatever. I heard they have one in California. You can get like a degree in shamanism. Like, really? I laugh at that because the lineage I came from and how I do my apprentices, it's your shadow work. It's a lot of shadow. I don't mean that like the dark negative energy thing, but you're being the shadow to the shaman and watching the everyday applications happening as they work. So it's not uncommon for my apprentices or even younger shamans who finish their apprenticeship to be in the audience as I'm working with someone, just sitting there at the table or in the room, just quiet. And I tell those people no emotional reactions, no nothing. And they get to watch me work with people. And one of the first things is they say, well, you don't work with the same people in the same way. I'm like, no, you can hear the same cases, same types of cases, but each person is different. And if you listen to it, each person is going to describe that case, you know, going through divorce, going through job change, going through cancer, but their way is completely different than the other way. It's an art of listening and paying attention and storing all the points of information into your head. So, and they've also seen me act totally out of character, to the point of one case I was kind of verbally abusive with this one guy in Germany to get him to shake up a little bit and then see what it, you know, he had a real gift for something, and the visions he was getting could save this other guy's life, and he was just going back and forth saying he wants the power, blah blah, and finally I was just like, just get out of here, go, shut up, and my people were looking at me like, what? So they get to see how you have to change and be very very mutable to make your project work or make the appointment work. And then later we're going to talk about that and like, yeah, could you see any other way to work with that guy? And they're like, no. It's like, yeah. So it's about being the shadow, your apprenticeship, and so that's a big part of it. Um, the the other thing is, in a real apprenticeship, you're going to be going through that 2 year period of self exploration. I mean, you're going to be really digging into yourself. You're going to be really deprogramming and just going through things. So this is where a lot of people will start into it and then go, okay, I'm just not ready for this. I didn't think it would go this deep, this long. I've been doing this for a year daily, and it's like this endless journey into self, and I just need a break. Yeah, okay, cool. Catch you later. Come back, give a buzz. Some people come back, some people don't. Because you think about it, if it only let's say it snowed a half an inch or 10 millimeters on you of programming every day of your life since you're born. By the time you're in your 20s, you're buried deep, and you got a lot to get through. And you need to be able to do that to clean yourself out, to be totally receptive to what you need to be doing at that particular time in that situation with that person or group of people. And so that's the first part about it. So a lot of people don't even make it through that the first year, you know, in what we call real shamanism anyway. And one of my apprentices years ago said, "You don't pass these types of apprenticeships; you survive them." And another buddy of mine, and he was also a Marine, he goes, "Yeah, this is kind of like the Marine Corps of shamanism, this particular lineage." So I take all these as compliments, but we do some really good work. So do you get chosen? You can. Your words let life, or we call the shamanic flow, can like really pick you up and go, "Hey, guess what? It's your turn now, and we're dumping you into this environment. Good luck." And things start to people look at it like, "Man, my life just fell apart." Did it really? Or did the eggshell break and now it's time for you to hatch out and be you instead of the programmed version? And some people don't like it. Some people want to go back to the everyday life. It's easy, it's predictable. Somebody will always tell you what to do and how to think and what to believe. You don't have to do much to it. Just do as you're told. um, but there's other people that just that's not for them. I'm one of those people. Although I have to say, there's been some times where I escaped shamanism. After some really crazy episodes, I just like, okay, I've had enough for a little while. I think I just want like a normal life with like maybe get a normal girlfriend, get a cat, a regular job, apartment or something, and do that for a little while. And then all of a sudden, I can just feel the energy shifting, and then I just slide back into that lifestyle and do that for a little while, and then pop back out, and then one day wake up and like, oh, shamanism's coming back, and he's boom, everything just kind of falls apart, and then I'm back into the flow. It's like, oh, well, that was a nice, staycation, I guess. So you can get chosen like that, and then you can choose to, and then sometimes both things can happen. It's like nothing else is open. Everything in life fell apart. It's like, now what? You know what? Let's just see how crazy this can get. Yeah, I'll do an apprenticeship with you. And you dive in. That's kind of how it was with me. So many dreams, visions, all these things happening, and some people that were close to within the lineage of the family, like, hey, we think this is happening. Maybe you should think about the apprenticeship and so on. And like, yeah, okay. And I was pretty young with it. So I finished all that back up in 1978. Um, so I hope that kind of answers it. It's not there's a mythology around this where it says like, if you are really a shaman, you are the chosen one and you will be brought to blah blah. When the student's ready, the teacher will appear. No, when in this line of work, you're almost never ready, because especially if, like, I went through another 4-year time period from January 2015 to February 2020, a lot of traveling around the post-communist countries of Europe, a little bit of Western Europe, and man, I just, after all the years I've been in shaman, it was a completely different show. I mean, lots of speaking venues. That's kind of nice. I built different types of sweat lodges I'd never even heard of before, but did a lot of working with people with terminal disease. Um, and then all of a sudden, boom, scamdemic hit, and I've been here in Central Texas, going on the third year, doing nothing but building a boat and taking care of animals on a farm. So that's the part that it could just like drop you off. It could just shift, so you're almost never ready. And to think that anybody could actually come up with a curriculum and say, well, you pass this curriculum and take this test and get your certificate to hang up on your I love me wall, now you're a shaman. Bullshit. Total bullshit. Don't believe that for a minute. you know I can't think of any other profession. Well, therapist, they do that. They go to school, they go to college and go out and then working with people's lives. It's just, anyway, get on to the next one. um They're talking about the path, with your losses, trials, experiences, sacrifices, and stuff like that. Yeah, uh, you got to balance it out. You really got to find again in the first couple of years of your apprenticeship, finding out who you are, what you really want in life, what your passions are, and a lot of time we shift or mold the apprenticeship around that, your truth, to really get to the center of who you are and find out what your passions are and work with that. But then as you change, actually you're going from the programmed person into your truth and you're going into that part, then the thing that you were attracted to, that's not you anymore. The things you tolerated, that's not you anymore. Things are attracted to you, things that want you, pull you, because your perception is like this, uh, I guess like a frequency, but more of a vibe for attraction, polarity. And once you're into this particular category or series of perceptions or perceived realities, then that's going to guide you into something else. And so I'm sure chemical engineers can come all kinds of metaphors for this, but you, and again, these other words, the path, okay, well, your sacrifices, trials, losses, again, these are all perceptions because I went through a phase where I went through bankruptcy, IRS audit, divorce. There was another one, but the four things that usually have people like commit suicide or whatever, you know, like IRS audit, divorce, bankruptcy. Anyway, that's enough. And people look to me like, "Are you all right? Are you all right?" Yeah, yeah, I'm fine. I mean, I got my life back. It was after Hurricane Andrew, or right around that time. So yeah, lost three businesses, and I looked at the end of that, I had a Jeep, me, a small box of construction tools, and a backpack full of work clothes. That was it. That's all I owned. Living on a hotel, paid weekly on the beach in Fort Lauderdale. That was cool. So I do the minimalist thing really well. So that was a big shift in my life. And so I go through these phases like that. It's like boom, boom, boom. And so could I look at that as losses and sacrifices and all that? Yeah. Or, that's the old skin. I kind of grew out of that and shed that skin, and now I'm going on to here. And I really liked the next phase that was coming up after that. That was very sweet. So yeah, you do go through that, but it's not just one time. Just like the snakes, change their skin every year, become this brand new snake. Um, it's all. It's more like you're going through the cocoon a few times in your life as you go get overhauled. Because in the shamanic journeys, in these phases, whatever your phase, mine go about 4 or 5 years, and I get some of them I get beat up pretty good into them. Just like okay, I need to like totally chill. So right now I'm on this farm building a boat. Doing farm work. I'm going on the third year, and so this is me getting ready for that next change, and maybe that'll be like the next phase, next and last big phase of my life. I'm cool with that. Um, so again, it's perceptions. It's a lot of it's perceptions about things. And speaking of that, I look at different realities. I look at universal reality, chemistry, physics, perceived reality, how you think things are, and accepted reality is how you act on your perceived reality. And those can change. Now, they can change really fast in your mind, but you have to wait for the physiology of your body to really catch up to those changes. That works on a different time scale. And so for the greater changes, the bigger changes, it's going to take a little bit longer for your body to catch up with the decisions that your mind made, you know. So what's the next one here? How to get out of the rat race and live shamanism. Well, this one's a biggie. By the time you've gotten out of apprenticeship, and they're usually minimum, absolute minimum, if somebody's doing this daily as a shadow, just working through this for 4 years, that'd be the basic minimum. You had a 2 year journey after that. You know, I mean, old style. It'd be about 8 years, still that 2 year journey after that. You know, um, I keep moving in and out of the camera, right? Yeah, my editing skills suck. So, so by the time somebody gets to that 4 year mark, they're pretty sure if they want to stay in or not. And more than likely, it's the answer is yes if they made it that far because they've trashed their old life. So it's not going to be too hard for them to make that transition. You do have to look at it as kind of like a business, not looking to make a profit like you would in a business, but life takes resources. Right now there's electricity in this little travel trailer. Everything cost. Back in the old days, they used to bring the shaman firewood, food, water, favors for him in the garden or hunt or something like that. Now they bring us pieces of paper or Kevlar with dead guys' pictures on them, and we take that to go buy things. People are like, oh, real shamans don't take money. Well, maybe if they live on the street and they push a grocery cart full of dirty stuff, but if you want to be somewhat presentable and hygienic, no, you're going to take some cash. And now people can, and I've been to a lot of situations like this, like, hey, this is your house, you can work out of here, and run this center for me, and you don't pay utilities or rent or anything like that, and we got a food budget. Okay, cool, I can be here for a while. And then you do your community service through that project, they close. I mean, everything in life is temporary, and you move on to the next place. But again, you still life takes resources, so you have to look at that. So when you're making that shift from the everyday rat race life into the shamanic life, you still have to look at it if you leaving working for someone else and you're working for yourself, which isn't really true either because the flow is sometimes can be a really ruthless boss. You just kind of went from here, we have a visible boss, and now you do this other thing, we have this invisible boss and invisible co-workers, part of the shamanic flow, spirit world or whatever. And they can be just as much as assholes as the human ones you used to work with. And so it's a bit of a transition, and you got to be okay with that because the rat race job is very two-dimensional. It's very cut and dry. you know Over here it's very interdimensional, multidimensional, different timelines, a lot of incompatibilities of realities in the different realms that you're working with. And at the same time you're doing all that as you have to be functional, and not get Baker acted in the two-dimensional world of everyday life. And so you learn to live in between the worlds. That's probably the biggest thing. How to live in between the worlds and function, in some semblance of normalcy, you know. Um, and the more you're into the shamanic life, the more it will spill over into the other life. And that has a tendency to be chaotic sometimes. So that's why a lot of times shamans, and it goes back into another thing, is where they were questioning, she said, is here it's a lonely life. It's interesting in the language that I was taught in, most of my shamanic work in, there was no word for alone because the whole concept's impossible. Why would you have a concept, a word for something that can't happen? And so in that particular dialect, you could not be alone because you have everything was people. You have I guess what would loosely translate into plant people, air people, birds and insects, earth, under earth people, four-legged people, water people, humans people, the two-leggers. And so everything was people. Even the spirits were different, a different word for people. So with all that around you, how could you be alone? You could feel abandoned, feel lost. You could feel um, unguided. Those are words that would translate well, but not, you couldn't be alone. So you have to really look at that. If you're feeling alone and that now you're looking really deep into yourself, like why How could that even be possible? I don't even. I'm. Always struggle for words how to describe this in English, and it just doesn't work. English is not good for these types of subjects. So, in the normal way of seeing things, yes, you could say that the shamanic path can be very lonely. You know, because you're often segregated is a good word. You're often segregated, and you often need to be away from people as you go through these big reset things, recalibrations, or tunings. For the next phase of your life. Um, because when I've tried to do these things, working a job, being in a big city, it's just like no way. I got to take this other opportunity that's open that has no money in it. Very sketchy kind of environment, but I'll get the piece that I need to go through my changes. So those are just a couple quick questions and some explanations. Shamanic life, a little bit about apprenticeship and so on. Um, there's two people. Shamanic woman, if you're on Instagram, is a shaman that I had trained. Right now she's living in the forest in a Transylvania part of Romania. Um, Eli Glesvalle. She went back to Spain. She's in the last part of her shamanic apprenticeship. She's going to be a great shaman, I can tell, just like Orshi is. Orshia Katerina Roji is shamanic woman. So you'll see her that way on Facebook, shamanic woman on Instagram, and I think the YouTube is also shamanic woman. Why don't I know that, right? And Eli Glesvalle or Healers of Earth on Instagram. Now, these are two women that are, one is still living through the apprenticeship, that's Ellie, and shamanic woman, or she has been through that. And or she did make that complete transition from the everyday rat race into the shamanic life. And Elisa is doing that and just been doing that for the last couple months. And the way that both of them had these synchronicities work in flow to make it all work out really well, showed that they were in a good harmonic vibe into the life they wanted to try and transition into. You don't always have the luxuries, that's for sure. Sometimes you really wonder where rent's coming from or something like that. But and then there's that time where lots and lots of money comes in, but then it goes out just as fast. But then you can say, well, at least I had it when I needed it, right? So that happens a lot. It's that can get kind of you know nerve wracking, spawn some anxiety a little bit, but you kind of stay with it. And I just tell everybody focus on the product and the service that you provide, and the rest of the stuff will usually fall into place. And that's 99.99% of the truth, or the time that's the truth. Let me see if I got any other notes to cover up, and nope. So if you got any other questions or stuff like that, I'll try and do more of these little quick videos. This wasn't too quick, it was 23 minutes. And I'll do that. Like, subscribe, share. If you like to help out and donate, like I said, Life Takes Resources. I'm Shaman Hawk on PayPal. You can also find that PayPal with shamaniclodge@gmail.com. And every little donation does something, even if it gets you a bag of chocolate covered golden berries or something. Sometimes the donations come in food. I got a big bag of brown rice that was sent to me. That's really good. I eat lots and lots of brown rice. I live a very Spartan diet. You have to do that when you get older. Okay, guys. Peace, love, white light, all that good stuff. Enjoy life. Number one. That's your shamanic chore for the day. Homework. How can I enjoy life better? Get on it. Catch you guys later.